So I'm going to set it up so that when I click on plate 3, the cake jumps onto it. I want to be able to click on plate 3 and then move the cake over to it. So to do that, what I need to do is I need to tell plate 3 to listen for me to click on it. So it's going to be listening for a click. And then when that happens, it needs to then call the instructions to move the cake over to sit on top of it. So the cake needs to listen for the click, and then when that click is heard, it passes a message to call the instructions of move the cake. So that looks like this. Plate 3 dot add event listener. So we're telling it to listen for an event, and it's a mouse event dot click. So we're telling plate 3 listen for the mouse event of a click. Now, all right, I'm not getting all the code hinting that I want. There's some code hinting in Flash, and it's not, I think because I saved on the desktop, it's freaking out because it's now trying to scan through too many folders and it just can't code hint at that point. I needed to save into a folder, but I didn't, so it's unhappy with me. So I might move it a little bit later. So I say mouse event click, comma, and now I'm going to put a function here, and this will be my plate 3 click handler. So plate 3 is adding an event listener for the mouse event of type click, and when that happens, it's going to call the function plate 3 click handler, which might be cluing you in that there's probably going to be a plate 2 and a plate 1 click handler as well a little bit later on this evening. Now I can say function plate 3 click handler, and then I put a E colon, and now it's going to be a mouse event. The reason it's a mouse event is the event I was listening for was a mouse event, so I need to tell Flash that the type of event is mouse event. And then I put a colon and I type the word void. And the reason I put the word void there is, well, it wants it, but 2, this function, when it executes, does not render out or return a value. All it does is execute a series of instructions. So it's not like it's taking in 2 numbers and returning their sum, or taking 2 words and returning a combination of mashing those 2 words together, or taking a single word and searching for a specific character or a group of characters or a string within those words. This function just does stuff. Therefore, it returns nothing or void. So if you're wondering, it's like, why do I have to type colon void? Well, this function doesn't return anything, so it's a void function. So now at this point, I want the cake to move to plate 3. Well, we know that this is currently the location it needs to go onto plate 3. So if I just put this, drag it down. Now we notice that I don't have nice pretty indentation or other nice code programming kinds of appearances, but Flash does have an auto format button right up in the top set of controls in my actions panel. If I click auto format, it will automatically indent those. ActionScript is not afraid of white space. It's not against white space. It's not pro white space. It doesn't care about white space, so it's white space agnostic. So what that means is I can put in all kinds of extra returns and spaces and other things, and Flash doesn't care. I know some people who use really weird conventions, so they put all of their opening and closing curly braces in weird places on screen just to keep everything in nice, neat columns. It works for them. I just use the auto format that Flash supports, and then it keeps life nice. So if I test my movie, click on plate 3, the cake jumps over to plate 3. That's good. Now I'm going to modify it so that my plates are now in non-overlapping separate locations, and I want to make it possible to click on any of the plates and see then the cake land on that plate. So I'm going to start with the cake right here. So if I click on any one of these plates, I want the cake to land on top of it. So I have plate 2, plate 1, plate 3, and my cake. So when I look at the code, currently it is set up so that in my code, which I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Hold on one moment. I forgot I shrunk it down this afternoon when I was dealing with some longer code and neglected to make it big again. There we go. So that should help out for visibility. You can see the code and punctuation a little bit cleaner now. So currently, I don't want these 3 lines to do anything, so I'm going to just turn those off. Now, I could delete them, but I may want to do something with them later, so they're not harming or in my way if I just comment them out. And I do that by clicking on the Add a Line Comment button. I could have just as easily typed 2 slashes, and putting that slash in creates the comment. Comments are really useful to put in your code. So I know a number of students, when they are following along with examples in class, coding examples, they liberally put comments in their code in lieu of taking notes by hand. Their hands are already on the keyboard typing, so it's much easier to then say go // and go event listeners are needed to listen for events. I mean, that's a fairly redundant, worthless comment, but I'm on the spot and couldn't do any better. But you may find that there are comments that you want to put in lieu of grabbing your pen or pencil and writing. I find that I can type faster than I write, so to type comments is far easier and more useful than dropping my hands off the keyboard, grabbing my pen or pencil, and then writing something, then rushing back to the keyboard. I can keep staring at my screen the whole time. So I like to just put comments in while I'm typing code. And it also means a week, a month, 6 months, a year from now, when you go back into the code, it's much easier to understand it if you put comments about this function does this event listener is doing this is this. So you fill it with all of that information to make your life a little bit better. So plate 3, add event listener, plate 3, click handler. That moves the cake over to plate 3. So now if I want plates 2 and 1 to have event listeners, I can copy that, paste twice, change the guilty party. And now if I were to save this and run, or test movie, what I will find is I receive 2 error messages. Those error messages are access of undefined property, plate 1 click handler, plate 2 click handler. So if I look here, what it's telling me is it can't find this function because I'm referencing a function that has not been made yet. See, plate 3 click handler, here's the call to it, here's the definition of it. Now if it makes it easier for your brain, you can put the 2 side by side. Add a few extra returns. So we have plate 3 click handler. Now so I can change them as needed. Oh, 1 1 1 1. And now I just have to figure out the correct X and Y for my cake each time. So let's see, this is plate 2. I want the cake to be at, I want the cake at 72 and 108. So change this to 72, 108, 205, 175. Now your numbers are going to be whatever works for your project. So once I have all of my numbers set up, I have my 3 event listeners, I have my functions configured. So 3, 3, 3, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2. So I think I have everything correct. Can save it, run it, click, click, click. So now we've made it, the object moves based on clicking. So to review quickly, we have an event listener attached to a named instance of an object that calls a function. That function is defined, and then we put the instructions in the function that we want to have happen. That is the basic framework for building interactivity in Flash.